so happy that I can finally make this video. I have been fantasizing over the last month and 50 plus hours of attempts at this challenge. All I could think about was finally completing Crash Team Racing's adventure mode on USF difficulty. For those of you out there who have tried this, you will probably know how insanely nasty this can be. And I'm so glad to be finally able to share this hellish experience with everyone here. I decided not to go in order of the adventure mode itself, just because it seemed like a more interesting way to do it. Thank you for showing interest in this video, and comment below your favorite CTR track, and we can both be in agreement that it's probably not Dingo Canyon. Okay, I've got Ruse Tubes in the first category, Joyride, because it really is just kind of a joyride. The boost right there sort of just seals the deal, which is sort of a theme in a lot of the joyride tracks, or the easier tracks in the challenge. If there's a boost or turbo pad at the start of the level, you're gonna be okay, because at that point it really just comes down to your own skill with U-turning and just maintaining your reserves. It's not really that much of a challenge. There isn't too much to add, I guess. The shortcut at the end here, it helps. It's not the biggest shortcut, but definitely helps you along the way. I'll definitely get more into the items specifically, because there's a lot I have to say about the item use in this this whole run, and it gets pretty nasty. I've got Mystery Caves in the Joyride category as well. I know it's not totally surprising to World 1 levels in the bottom. It's just these tracks are so wide as I run into a wall. As I said just before, there's the fact that there's boosts at the start of the level. Like literally, if you can see a boost from the start line, you may as well just forget about the challenge. It's not too bad. It's really just a matter of keeping the speed up and keeping the reserves high. The only real obstacles in this level are actually these fireball thingies, and they're right next to boost pads, so you're kind of just fine anyway. I should also point out that I'm definitely I have a very bad habit at missing the Wumpa fruit boxes. I don't go for it. I don't know why. I know it makes the cart go fast, but I don't know why. There's something wrong with me. I don't think it's any surprise that Coco Park has featured in the first category. This is a giant track. There's a boost pad. It's a reasonable way into the first sort of quarter of the level. I think it's almost impossible to hit a wall in this level. This might even be one of the best tracks to practice on, if not Crash Cove. Obviously with that big shortcut there, it's done and dusted really. The AI is very, very snappy around the map. They don't really dilly-dally so much. Yeah, again, no reliance on items or anything, or even Wumpa fruit really. Play as you would normally at a slightly faster speed. Closing out the first category is Blizzard Bluff, which there's just too many great shortcuts. There's a boost pad sort of near the start again. There's another one just up that hill, but with this speed. This shortcut, that shortcut across the lake thing, it's sometimes even a problem. I remember in casual play, you just wouldn't get that jump off somehow. But with USF speed, it's very much an easy feat. I was quite lucky it didn't pose an issue there. There's a lot of opportunity to get your speed back, and once you're matching the AI's speed, it really is just a matter of cutting corners. No reliance on items here at all. I could have not touched a single box once. Just like in real life. Oh. Kicking off the next category, Arcade Hard. I mean that as in the hardest mode of the original game, I guess. It's like not that hard. I think it's just they get crazy with the items. They're quite a bit faster, but they're not really much of a challenge. Sewer Speedway, I didn't anticipate any issues with. I sort of added a little bit of extra challenge to really hard challenge for some reason. I decided not to use the shortcut at all and see if I could still do it. Just because I think the first couple of attempts, I was just miles in front, and it just kind of wasn't fun. Like, I love this level. I've played this level probably the most of all of them, so I wasn't too worried about it. There are speed boosts, you know, sort of around the track at sort of crucial points where you could, you know, catch up if something went wrong. Not too much of a challenge. Same thing with the other levels, no reliance on the items in any way, really. I think, yeah, engine here is sort of posing a bit of a threat, but the AI sort of takes these weird, it's like they take really tight corners in certain places and then they just do that. They're just like, hey, you can go in front, I guess. Very conveniently, in the next of the arcade hard category is the level that's straight after Sewer Speedway. It's Ripperoo. In hindsight, this might have been the second or third hardest boss, technically. It's more than a skill game in Ruse 2's, because Ripperoo, it really is kind of flying. And he's dropping TNT. It's pretty deadly. But there's sort of a big reliance on keeping that speed, making sure the boosts are pretty healthy and consistent. And because we are only really relying on that shortcut at the end, I thought it was only fair to put Ripperoo in the hard mode. Not only because he's a respected doctor, but what are you fucking saying? Next on the arcade hard is Tiger Temple. This is, it's a pretty simple track. It's pretty evident by the map there. But, these straightaways can be pretty annoying sometimes. If you're in the pack, when you're going through those tunnels, they really like to throw like 90-degree anything, like missiles, bombs, beakers at you directly, and it's pretty frustrating. There's no boost until the later half of the track, which sort of does make it a bit worrisome, but there's a pretty healthy shortcut right there. I don't think there was any reliance again on the items, just keeping the speed up again and just avoiding the walls. Even, with the speed as well, you can basically just cut across all of this grass here. I didn't do it here just because I just wanted to end this one. This is one of my least favorite tracks. I don't know why. I think it's just kind of dull. I think I expected more from the theme, but I guess that's sort of what Papu Pyramid kind of makes up. Next we have Polar Pass. This is sort of a trickier level in terms of there's a little bit more tight cornering in certain areas of this level, but overall there's so much boost here. Like, look, there's just, the whole screen is green right now. Everything is green, right? We're in the Matrix right now. And obviously good items like that, the blue orb is doing a lot of the work there. It's taken out the priority target, which I haven't even spoken about. I want to use an expletive to describe him, but I won't just yet. I'll save that. This is, I really do like this track. I'm really familiar with it. I did some really, okay. All right. There was some Taz. It was actually, that was performed by a Taz. No, it wasn't. Don't say that. I don't want to discredit this at all. This was this one was really just kind of fun. I think everything in the first and second category was mostly just fun. I guess it's worth highlighting the speed difference, and it does look like I'm a fair bit ahead, but I lose my speed here, and just sort of pay attention to how quickly they can catch up. It's something you don't really think about, and it's sort of hard to illustrate that too much without showing you all the attempts I had. But if you lose your speed at crucial moments, I've thrown so many perfect races after hours of attempts on certain levels, just trying to finish off the perfect run, and it's just something happens, or you hit a wall or something, I don't know. And it was pretty pretty catastrophic sometimes. But persistence prevails, of course. I just lost my speed there, and as you can see, they are closing in. I was actually worried here because I lost my speed again, so I think, honestly, Cortex, or Crash even, might have just been he might have genuinely been on the line, or, right behind the line as I crossed it, so That was a bit lucky. Next in the arcade hard category is Engine Labs. This is just, again, a favorite track of mine, and you can see the principle is there again. If you see the boost, basically from the start of the track, you're kind of gold. This whole track is essentially just boost. This was fun. I even had fun doing this in the dev times. It's just such a nice track. There's so much variety in the turns, and it's very square at points. You know. What are you fucking saying? You can see it here too that I'm having sort of a fight here with Tiny. He's sort of just consistently. It honestly feels like rubber banding, and it did feel like rubber banding sometimes. I don't know if that's just the AI getting that sort of rival characteristic when they're in adventure mode. This doesn't happen outside of adventure mode, I'm pretty sure. I don't think it does. So Pura is usually the one in front doing this, and they take corners like perfectly, and they have so much speed and like almost perfect aim sometimes. But yeah, I'm able to get in front for the final jump, and just holy, I almost hit that wall, and yep, we did it. I did not realize how close that was. Finally, the last of the arcade hard challenges would be Oxide Station. Like I said before, we are in the Matrix. The whole level is green. This whole track is just a giant playground, if anything. I love this track. The aesthetic makes my little child mind go crazy. Yeah, it's just a good track. I did make use of the shortcut there. It's a big shortcut. I sort of feel bad for doing that, but I did kind of get punished for it later on, and then I went the other way and then still got punished for it. So we kind of broke even at the end. So we'll see that coming up. Less than 0% reliance on any items at all. You have so much opportunity here to just sort of floor it, and you know, you only really need like one clock or even one blue orb, and you're good. You know, you're totally fine. And yeah, you can see there I got punished for taking that shortcut. I should also note this was my first attempt at the level. I was genuinely just so happy to be here that I just took this attempt. Also, if you hop there, you hit the wall, so don't do that. The same happens here, I think, maybe, I can't remember, and it definitely happens. Again, I fell in the same spot because I hopped. So you sort of got to monitor your speed there a little bit, but again, you get the boost straight away and you're just back in the lead. I decided to be a cheeky little monkey and go backwards, but it was only until I watched this back that I realized how close they were. So I sort of regret doing that, even though it worked out. I just wanted to jump in here and sort of talk about the items as a whole and the reliance I keep referring to and never explaining. This is the list of items we have at our disposal. I'm gonna show you which of these items are actually useful. So there's 4 items, you know, they're good items. These are the only items we can really use, 2 of which are essential. I'm gonna let you guess which 2. I mean, you probably got it right. Yeah, it's the orb and the clock. The mask and the boost, obviously they're very helpful. Getting a boost is very good for keeping your reserves up high. Something goes wrong, it's always good to have that as a backup. The mask is just it's a really good speed boost, handling boost as well. Dragon Mine shortcut was made so much easier with the mask, but yeah, it's not enough to bring you to a victory, I'm afraid. Which leaves the 2, I guess, best items in the game. There's a fun little quirk with this challenge specifically that it took me a very, very long time into the next race to realize this was happening. There is one character in this whole run who is just a menace, an absolute menace. He cannot be stopped with the stopwatch. Mr. Pura is not affected by the stopwatch at all. I thought I was going insane. I genuinely questioned my reality every time I'd look at the map and I'd see that little purple dot of his, and I really started to wonder if it was even possible to complete the challenge. But I really started questioning if maybe the AI could get shields. Really, it got to a point I would sit behind him watch him get an item box, watch him throw a beaker or something, and then throw a clock, just to make sure it wasn't like a weird shield business. So I got pretty desperate for answers in my attempts, and then I discovered that thankfully the blue orb will take care of him for me. The clock brings everyone to a grinding halt, including all the bosses too, which is great, but just Purah is not affected. So in most of my successful attempts, it usually came down to getting an orb in the first or very early second lap that could catch Purah, so that I would have enough time to catch up to him specifically, then also hope that I would get a stopwatch to stop everyone else as well. A lot of my successful attempts felt like I was just driving through a crowd of people I'd hit with the stopwatch and watching my blue orb chase down Purah. The reliance on items here is something I never anticipated for what I thought was just solely going to be a speed challenge. But I figured I'd try and answer any questions before we get into the more challenging runs. Believe it or not, we are kicking off the third category, which is practice. Mainly because these levels are difficult, and I guess Crash Cove is notoriously difficult. This was a very, very close race. It's in this category specifically because of the reliance on items. And this level is sort of a great introduction to the whole challenge because it shows you so many things about the items. But this level, you really need to rely on the clock and the blue orb, but not in that order. It's a very fast race, it's already over. But as you can see here, that was literally one frame. So I hop on his head there. I was actually convinced like that we were done, and I ignored the fact there was a boost in my inventory, but whatever. I mean, I don't know how I'm second there, I'm kind of in front of him. Look at that, it can't even display properly because it cannot comprehend how, in the name of all that is glorious, how is that possible? I screamed like a gibbon stubbing his toe. Next up on the practice category is Mr. Papu himself. At this point, it's hard to illustrate through the screen, but it was very scary coming back to Papu's pyramid, and we'll see why that is later on in the video. But I was really, really worried because I confess I am not the best at keeping my speed. In that pyramid section there in the middle, it's just a lot of hopping and hoping. I was really concerned after the first couple of attempts, and then I sort of just kind of glanced off the screen at 1 second and noticed something, and I'm hoping you might have noticed already too, but Mandem over here, Mr. Papu is running into almost every single one of his own items. He's right there with a big black cloud over him, and I hit him with a missile, which honestly blew my mind because the missiles have only been hitting walls and trees and stuff the whole game. I messed up my boost there, but I sort of was laughing so hard at the fact that he is literally running into every item again. So I was pretty confident that just hitting any of these shortcuts would just kind of seal the deal. And there's a nice little finish for him right there. Yeah, straight into the beaker. And I think he hits another one before I lose. Yeah. I was so absolutely blown away by that discovery, and it was such a nice relief. Oh, and having to endure the hell before that, but we'll get to that. Tiny Arena. This was a track that I was kind of apprehensive about, just because it's pretty tricky. You sort of have to have mastered the U-turn. At this point in the challenge, you definitely would have. In terms of difficulty, this was just a nice skill check, if anything. It was just like, hey, keep that speed up, keep the flames. As I said, there's a boost kind of sort of near the start. It doesn't really become much of an issue. Obviously having something like that, like a blue orb flying around, is very, very handy, sort of just taking everyone out. I want to make another note as well, that something that I didn't anticipate was I was helped by a track obstacle many times across this challenge. So many of the track obstacles became sort of integral to me winning some of these races. And in this track, we only have the mud. And I swear, the AI loves to drive through the mud. And I assume that's just something they have designed to do. But it actually became really helpful because they would slow down to a crawl, which I didn't anticipate. I thought USF could just, cut through the mud, but no, they really like to swim in that muddy pile. I don't know if you noticed it, but I definitely did a double jump there. Komodo Joe. That doesn't really show you how horrific this track is to sort of navigate at USF speed. Not having 8 other people on the track is actually way nicer, and you have so much more room to do things. And you can it's sort of just like doing a time trial at that point. You just need some good laps, and I mean, the end of this run sort of doesn't illustrate this being much of a skill. This is just a very sloppy run that turned out to be perfectly in my favor. As you can see, he's quite far ahead right there, but I managed to snag a mask to get through the shortcut at... Oh no, I don't take it anymore. I was pretty lucky. I got some pretty consistent masks, and then just happened to get the perfect item to slow him right down right before I smashed into that wall and won by complete luck. Personally, not one of my favorite tracks. I'm going to be pretty transparent about that. I love the aesthetic of this level. I love the blimps. I love how the track kind of looks. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just like deep repressed trauma from Pinstripe, where he just, hurls bowling balls at your face constantly, like from the ground. I don't know. It's just something's wrong with this level. I don't know. I hate it. You can see me right there. I almost wanted to restart, but I realized I had a clock, and I was like, oh, cool. And there's an orb. So we're not looking too bad. Came to a pretty gnarly discovery. I found out you could do that. That was the previous attempt. I actually just tried to do it because I was in 8th on the last lap, and I was just practicing. And then I just managed to land back on the track that time. So I was very happy. That all was still going. If that gives you any indication of how fast the person in first is, i.e. Pura, yeah, they took a long time to get up to him. If you hop off that jump, by the way, you will go straight into the wall in front of you, and you cannot stop it. It is not a good idea. Even hopping and trying to go around the wall doesn't seem to work either. It's not a good time. If you didn't use the shortcut in the middle, this would be a pretty nasty challenge. I think up to this point, I was just sort of sick of relying on luck. Like, I didn't want to rely on having to get another clock and orb combo, so I just had to I just wanted to take the shortcut that I was able to find as a kid. I wanted to use it to my advantage, and then I did this, which was complete accident. I was actually really angry because I was about to lose, so it just kind of worked out. And the final in the practice category is Mr. Nitrous Oxide himself. This track, again, we've spoken before, so green, so lush with greenery, so much foliage and vibrancy to this level. So much opportunity to get your speed back. It's not too bad. This is a pretty sloppy run. I was sort of just admiring the fact that I was here, the fact that I was able to close out the challenge having overcome some crazy hurdles. I was very much in a confused mental state. I was very much ready to end the challenge, and I just wanted to sort of savor in the fact that I was looking at nitrous oxide and realizing like the journey was coming to an end, which is a very somber thought. Without the shortcuts, this would be pretty tricky. I would put it in the next category if it were, but I didn't, because it's a boss race, you know? Like, once you're in front of a boss, they just sit behind you, you know? Even at USF speed, it's not too much of a challenge. You know, some might consider this one of the more tricky levels because it's a bit more twisty and turny, but I genuinely think it's just a nice, fun track to play on. I think this is, one of the most interesting levels in terms of scenery, at least. I guess they sort of wanted to go out with a bang for the final track, despite, you know, all that stuff about them deliberately making this game with aliens and stuff to kill the franchise, but I tried to do a cool U-turn there and it absolutely backfired, so I just did a normal jump. I made sure to show Mr. Oxide the ultimate disrespect and use my charged Wampa to throw a nitro directly into him before closing out the race. Moving into the tricky category, I am starting off with Cortex Castle. This really is sort of a skill check, more so than Tiny Arena could ever be, I think. This is definitely just a case of keeping those reserves up as much as possible. There's not a lot of room for you to build up speed, and I felt myself relying on specific jumps to keep my boost going. Given that there are, a healthy amount of speed boosts sort of right at the start of the level is really helpful. One in the middle and then sort of near the end again. There's a lot of opportunity to make up for your mistakes, and I lose my flame a fair bit, and it sort of just came down to, hey, I need to get in front, stay in front, have my reserves in a maintainable level, and sort of cut corners as much as I can. And obviously being the shortcut at the end of the level here, it's pretty smooth sailing once you've got a decent amount of practice in. I would say there's a little bit of a reliance on items, but to be honest, one of the biggest saving graces of this level was these spiders. These spiders, I did not realize until watching this back a couple times, the spiders help me out a lot. They take people out consistently, and already closing out this tricky category is Papu Pyramid, or Papu's Pyramid I should say. As I said in the boss challenge, the difficulty of keeping that flame going through the pyramid and maintaining it throughout the track, alongside the obstacles and just general nightmare of navigating this level sometimes. It made this very, very difficult. This is definitely not the first introduction I had to item BS. You need to have an orb like this. You need to have an orb or a clock. If Purr is in first, he's going to stay in first unless you have an orb. And it's very, very taxing when you are smashing and you're getting so much better at the game every time. I say that as I'm running into walls. I got very lucky having missed the boost there. A clock will help, but it's really all about keeping Purr in the back, which we'll get into that very, very shortly. And setting up the final category for bad time is this lovely dragon mine. This little dragon of mine, man. Woo! This was horrific. This took, I think, about 9 hours of attempts in total to take care of. It was not fun. Not fun at all. Massive, massive reliance on the blue orb taking out Purr. When it does, if and when it actually works. I feel like most of the time I used a blue orb in this challenge, it went straight into a wall, or the AI got confused and it just like disappeared, or I don't know, it would just hit something and nothing would happen. The clock is really only good for the pack, everyone except Purr and the bosses. Yeah, this came down to not only relying on that very, very lucky turn of events with the items, but also maintaining your speed through these really nasty turns, and especially that shortcut, the minecart shortcut, and the fact that there is a boost only at the end of the level. It's like Crash Cove and Papu's Pyramid and, I don't know, a Lego Racers map combined. It's just horrific. And the final race of this analysis video, I guess, is Dingo Canyon. This was absolute hell. It was the biggest roadblock in the entire challenge. I couldn't have anticipated this would be so painful. 14 hours of attempts I think I recorded. It was just pure pain. This race is exactly why I wanted to detail the items specifically, because it came down to, you couldn't use a clock before getting an orb. It was just a mess, like having to rely on that kind of luck, while also maintaining your reserves and making sure you keep that blue flame. This took so long for a very good reason. And the fact there's no shortcuts, I really got lucky. I finally got an orb to get into Purr, or Polar I should say in this example. But that clock, obviously, that was essential to slowing everyone down, and it was only right at the end of the level did I actually catch him and finally get across the line. Thank you for sticking around to the end of the video. If you did, thank you so much. I very much appreciate your time and letting me ramble about this 50-hour long challenge. That was very, honestly, the feeling of doing this was incredible. It was like, it really was kind of like beating Oxide for the first time when I was a child. It was just like, wow. It was a very nice feeling to finally wrap it up. So if you've tried this challenge, I would love to see some other footage of this. I can't really find anyone else who's done this as of right now. But if you did this, maybe you did it better. Maybe you did it easier, or maybe I did something really stupid. I'd love to hear about it. Anyway.